Hello everybody. Today I'm going to talk about OBS Studio. So OBS Studio can be downloaded at obsproject.com. As you can see, it's available on all three platforms. In Mac OS, it's available both in Intel and Apple Silicon. And it is an open source software that is a virtual switcher. So a switcher is in video broadcasting, video production, is hardware that enables you to determine what camera, like if you think of a morning TV show, what camera is being broadcast at any given time. You're switching between those cameras, or you're adding graphics or overlays or somebody's name to the screen, or whatever it happens to be that is getting broadcast. That selection is called switching. You switch to camera A, switch to camera B. This is a virtual switcher that is free. So I'm going to talk about this, and then I'm going to look at how it solved a problem that I had when I was recording my lectures, and a strategy that I wanted to use. We'll look at the role it plays in the strategy that I wanted to use for recording those lectures. So first, let's look at OBS, the interface, and talk about it very briefly. In the center is where our images will appear. And across the bottom, we see these various panes. The first one is says scenes. We build scenes, multiple scenes, and those scenes are comprised of various sources. So if I click a plus here, I can see the types of sources I can add to a scene. I can then arrange them, scale them, position them wherever I want in the screen. Next, we see the audio levels of the various elements, the various sources we bring in. We'll see their levels. We can then adjust them. And then when we want to transition from scene to scene, we can say what kind of transition we want to queue up and have transition us from one scene to another. And then lastly, we have the controls over here. So I'm going to look at settings really quickly. So in settings, you'll notice it says streaming down here. We're not streaming. Streaming is when you're sending live video out over the internet. We'll just be recording. So if we go to output, we can see that it has streaming output here. We're not really worried about that. We're worried about recording down here in the lower part. You can select where you want your video to end up. I bumped the quality up to high quality. The recording format to MP4. It's common. You could probably choose either one of these, especially if you're on a Mac. You could choose MOV. And then I did hardware encoding. And then for video, I upped these to the resolution of the screen I'd be capturing. That is this external screen. And I'll say, okay. So let's take a look at what the logic is behind what we're going to do here. So I'm going to pull up this video. So this video is how I recorded my lectures. And I'm going to let's see here. I'm going to cue it up to right here. You can start to see, and I'll just talk. I have it turned down because it's going to cause feedback with the way we're recording. But you can see I have a PowerPoint behind me, and I have my lecture. So I recorded my lecture capturing it in ScreenFlow, and just being able to talk off the top of my head without using PowerPoint, without being tempted to read it, without being distracted by advancing it. I could just talk, and then I built the PowerPoint as a result of what I said. I listened to what I said, and then I built the PowerPoint accordingly. And then I used OBS to composite those two together, to put me in front of the PowerPoint. And that's what we're going to look at today, because I like this particular way of lecturing. I'm not thinking about the technology, I'm just talking about what I have to talk about. So you'll see that I'm switching back and forth. I'm running the PowerPoint ahead. When it goes to full screen, then I would disappear so that students could see the full screen without my face. So I'm going to advance so you can see I'm gone. Okay, so we're going to do that and talk about all the steps in doing that as we build it out here in OBS. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this scene, and I'm going to call it PIP, Picture in Picture over PPT PowerPoint. And I'm going to add my elements to this source. So I hit the plus sign. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a media source, which will be the video lecture. So I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to go find that video lecture. Browse down, and it's source in my source MP fours, and it's called immersion, and I'm going to select it. And then I have to do a very important little change here, and that is restart playback when source becomes active. That means when I select the scene that's in, it's going to start over, and I do not want that to happen. So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to say OK. Here I am, and I can scale me down. They've added these nice little pixel numbers to let you know where you're positioning yourself. I'm going to put myself right here, and then I'm going to add another source. So now I'm going to add a screen capture because I'm going to be playing the PowerPoint slideshow on one screen and just capturing that entire screen. So I will say OK. I'm going to create a new one, and it is going to do this crazy hall of mirrors just because OBS is open on that particular screen. So I'm going to turn that off so we're not looking at that. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to create another scene. And this one I'm just going to call PowerPoint because it'll be a full frame PowerPoint. Add, and I'm going to go into the the Mac OS screen capture. I already have it, so I'll say add existing. I'll say OK. I select it and say OK. And there it is again, and I'm going to turn that off. So now I have picture over PowerPoint, no PowerPoint yet, and PowerPoint. And then I can add another one, and I will just call this one lecture. And I might just want to go full frame to the lecture. So I'll say media source. And here it is, add existing, select it, say OK. Here I am. So if I want to go really large, I could go really large, which I did not do in that video, but maybe you want to. So you'll notice as I bring these up, it brings up the source, audio, and this one is this microphone. So you can select that source by going to properties, and I selected that microphone. And another thing while I'm on the audio mixer is when I'm capturing this, I want to be able to hear my video lecture to time out the advancing of my PowerPoint. So if I go to advanced in order to hear it, advanced settings, media source, I would turn this on to output so I could hear it. I'm not going to do that because it'll create crazy feedback loop with the recording that we're doing and ScreenFlow. So, but it's playing, and I think yes. So again, off. So no matter where you put that, it's not going to. It's going to maintain that checkbox off that I did before. So here are my elements. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this over to my other screen and queue up the slideshow from my PowerPoint. So I'll shrink this down. I'm going to drag this over, pop it over onto my other one, blow it up, and then I'm going to go in to my PowerPoint here, and there's a setting that you have to do. First, I may escape so you can see I'm in the PowerPoint. Before I do the slideshow, I have to go to set up slideshow and choose browse by individual. And then make sure that monitor 2 is selected. So if you were here, you could choose which monitor and then go browse by individual. And that is going to allow me to advance it. Otherwise, it's going to take up both screens. This one, I wouldn't be able to advance it. This one, I can advance it, and it will only take up one screen because I need OBS on the other screen. So I'll say OK. And then while I'm parked on this one, I'm going to go into my slideshow, and then I'm going to make it full screen. And if I jump back over here to the OBS side, I will turn on my slideshow, and I need to drag it below my media source so I see me. And now here is where we go into the power of Studio. So we go into Studio mode, and you will see we have two screens here. This is the preview screen of what I've queued up to go out to the record screen. So when I start recording, it's going to record the right side. And then I can select whatever scene I want next and then hit transition, and it will transition a fade and bring that on. So if I had not said restart each time, what it would be, turned it off so it would not restart each time, every time I would go to a new scene with this video lecture, it would start over from the beginning, which we don't want. We want that to continue. So before we start recording, we want to make sure we go into our sources and we turn them back on. We have here, we have our PowerPoint. We have our picture-in-picture over our PowerPoint. I'm going to queue up my PowerPoint like this. And then we're going to start to record. We have this. We have this. We're going to start on this one. Actually, let's start on this one. So we'll start to record. It's recording. I'm going to transition this on from black. I'm going to hit hello everybody. So it's now playing. You'll notice that this will switch to another, it'll switch between the last two that you did. So it automatically does that for you. So I can now queue up this, and then I can go through my PowerPoint. I have to click over here on my PowerPoint. I can go ahead. I can then transition to this one to get rid of me out of the way so students can appreciate that without my face there. And then I can go back to my PowerPoint and advance it, and then transition over to me appearing again. And then I can go over here and I can advance my PowerPoint to these few things. And then I want to go to my next, transition to me out of the way, go bring up this full screen. It takes a little getting used to, but once you hit a rhythm and you're hearing the audio cues of what's being said, you start to get the rhythm. And then I might want to go over to the full screen, talk about that, queue up the next one, advance my PowerPoint slides. I can then move this and adjust this before I go to the next one. So here I'm here, get ready for my PowerPoint, go in and advance my slides some more, blah, 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 and then transition me away, and then stop the recording. So now that's saved. I can go over here and escape out of this, and you can see that I've built now that video, and then I can then take that video into ScreenFlow and do some things to it. I can't track the mouse and stuff because that's recorded by ScreenFlow itself, but I can bring it into ScreenFlow and I can do the callouts. I can emphasize something on this painting if I wanted to. I could do annotation and drawings and arrows and all those kinds of things and additional text in ScreenFlow before I export the whole thing. So there is my overview of the very basic functionality of OBS and how you can use it to enhance your teaching because you're speaking naturally and then adding the PowerPoint and compositing it in a really slick way. Okay, there we go.